Alright, hello guys. You are listening to the second episode of Popped. Today we're going to talk about book-to-screen adaptations. My name's Kirsten.
I'm Isabel.
I'm Valentina.
And we're going to start off with, of course, Harry Potter.
Ah, yes, Harry Potter. Who doesn't know Harry Potter? I guess first news in the Harry Potter universe, not necessarily Harry Potter, but you get what I mean. Fantastic Beasts, that's coming out in a couple of weeks, and it's been announced that it will now be a 5-part movie series. So many. I don't know what you guys think about that, but it's a few too many for me.
I personally feel like Harry Potter is like, the classics are the first original, I guess, 8 movies. So I think adding to them is, I mean, obviously they're trying to make money, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll watch them all.
Yeah, I don't know. I still haven't watched the originals, so don't know if I'm going to be watching these. But I know my sister, she's 12, and so she's just getting into them, and she, like, loves all of the books.
That's great that kids can still get into it today.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that constantly when kids turn 11 or 12, they get into it, I love that.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the newest movie, Fantastic Beasts, it allows for not, like, a new generation, but because like hasn't been that long, but a new like age group to rediscover Harry Potter.
No, I agree. I think, because a lot of kids are like, oh, those are old. Can't watch those. Can't watch old things. So just something new J.K. Rowling can put out there.
We're not that old.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, like when I the first like Harry Potter movie I went to see like in theater was like Deathly Hallows though.
Yeah,
so.
I got into it really late. Like the last book I read.
How old was I? Like 13 or something? When did that come out? Like 2011?
The last movie?
The last 2 movies or something? I think it came out like
later.
Yeah. Really?
I don't remember. Okay, Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out in 2011. Wow, you were right.
Yeah,
okay,
I remember my tween years.
That is so strange to me.
Puberty.
Yeah, it feels like long or more recent.
Right, more recent. I did, it's called LeakyCon. It was a convention in Orlando.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I went to it, and then we did the midnight screening of the movie. It was the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I never got into Harry Potter. I'm not much into fantasy in general. And, like, I didn't even start reading the books until the last book came out. And all my friends were like, Valentina, you love to read. You need to read these books. And so I started reading them, and I only got to, like, the 3rd book.
If you don't keep going right away, you definitely will fall out of it.
Yeah. I don't know. And, like, I didn't love the books, so I was like, whatever with the movies. Like, I've seen the first 2, I think, and the others I've seen parts of just, like, when they're playing on TV and my sister's watching them or something. But that's it.
Man, those ABC Family Harry Potter weekend marathons.
Oh, yeah. I feel like they have one at least once a month.
Yeah. And now we're finally at the point they have all the movies.
Even though they're not Christmas, but they love to say that they are.
Yeah.
I remember when they used to just play up to the 5th movie, and now I just turned on the TV one of these days when I was at home, and they had up to like the Deathly Hallows. I was like, wow,
Seriously?
what a time to be alive,
Finally get him out.
Yeah, they finally got the rights to those.
Yeah. But I don't know. For like 5 movies, like I love Harry Potter. I read like all the books like 3 times. Like, don't even get me wrong. Like, it was my thing. But I don't know. I mean, if they're all great movies and like perfect, but I don't know about. I'm skeptical, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, because how many books are the basis?
It's one skinny ass book.
It's one book.
It's literally 20 pages.
It's like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is based off a textbook in the Harry Potter universe.
And it's like a pamphlet when you
it's
in
legit.
person version. Yeah, you get in this little. It's a little cute. Like it's like almost a decorative thing than a book. So
then how are they making 5 movies out of them? I don't understand that.
Imagination.
Yeah, JK is there to. I mean, she is, I guess, giving them things, but still, I agree. I think that's insane.
Just like see how it goes, and then you can, But we'll see how it goes. I hope it's successful. At least, I mean, I'm sure the first movie's going to be good. Hopefully the rest will be too. Okay, and continuing with that, there was this really cool video on YouTube from Vox, VOX, about it's called Harry Potter and the Translator's Nightmare, all about the struggles of translating all the different things in Harry Potter, like the wordplay and alliteration and things like that. Translating, and ideas, very like British isms, translating that into different languages and cultures and stuff. So,
and we have a little snippet of the video to play. All right, we're gonna play that now.
The main characters' first names, Harry, Hermione, and Ron, mostly stay the same across languages, with small changes to accommodate different alphabets and phonetics. That's easy enough for conventional names like Harry Potter, but many of the other proper names in the books carry loaded meanings that would be lost if it's not translated. Take Severus Snape. The name invokes severity and sounds like snake. So the Italian translator made the jump and named him Severus Piton, which is basically Python.
All right.
So what'd you guys think of that?
I think it's extremely interesting that, I mean, you don't really think about it. You know they have to be translated, but you don't actually think about how the cultural aspects too of the British culture and how it has to be translated to other places that don't know about certain things, like as you said, boarding school and stuff like that. Like you have to think about every single thing when you're translating a book.
Oh yeah, definitely. A basic thing too was just the first book was published as The Philosopher's Stone, and in the United States we read it as The Sorcerer's Stone. So that's one thing.
Because a philosopher is something completely different from a sorcerer here. So,
and again, going back to the adaptations of the movies, it's the same thing. If someone watches in a different country, do they understand the foods they're eating, the school they're going to, like just seeing it on screen, will they understand it?
Yeah, it's really hard to think about.
Right, just little things too, like little jokes about the culture that can be made, even in something like Harry Potter. And the video also talked about how a lot of the words are made up and how they wouldn't make sense. Obviously, they're made up here too, but it just wouldn't translate well. So they had to just come up with words that made sense for the language by putting two words together, which is cool.
And like in the video, in the clip that we played, they talked about Severus Snape, and that's like alliterative, but in other languages it wouldn't be. Like in the Italian, it was Severus Piton.
Yeah.
So that's an S and a P. That's not alliterative, so it doesn't give off the same like
severity.
Yeah,
as I said.
Yeah.
Severity.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I feel like even like I've seen movies. I don't know if they're like English movies like Spanish subtitles or like vice versa. I speak Spanish and all that. And even then I notice, I'm like, that's kind of like, that translation was a little off right there, you know? Like, another thing really cool that happened, Google and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them collaborated to make an app only for Android where you can do spells on your phone, which is really cool. One of the things you can do is the Lumos spell, which turns on your flash, and then turning off your flash with another spell. And then there's another spell to turn off your ringer notifications, which is Silencio. Yeah, right? And you do all this by saying, okay, Google, spell, you know?
Yeah.
You see the spell.
So I have an Android phone.
The only person here with an Android phone.
Yeah, Team Android. So what do? I say, okay, Google.
Mm-hmm. And then Lumos.
And then Lumos. Oh, no, it didn't pick up because I said
and then. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. So, okay, Google. Lumos.
Oh.
My flashlight's on.
Just so you guys know, yeah, you can't see it, but her light did come on.
Yes, and it probably went like
now
right
you have to say
eyes.
you have to say Knox to turn it off.
Knox? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Google. Knox.
Oh,
it turned off.
Worked.
That is so cool. Okay.
It's kind of funny.
I don't know if you want to try the turn off your like ringer one.
Okay, so I say silencio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Google. Silencio. It just turned off my volume. It gave me an option to open the volume settings, and it just turned it. That's super cool. How do I turn that on?
I have no idea. You have to fix that. Those are the only ones I saw.
Oh man. Well, whatever. I can do that manually.
It's funny though, because
Maybe like Activo, like
Activia.
Activia.
Oh, well, but that's super cool. I didn't know that. I don't know if I'm actually going to be using it, but it's cool to like, it's like a party trick.
They bring worlds like Harry Potter across platforms, from even to your phones.
Yeah.
Bring an iPhone.
That's a little upsetting, not gonna lie. Like, Siri is the thing they could use.
But like, it's not an app. It's just with the Google app.
Very true.
Yeah, but even I did it with the Google app. It didn't work with my phone.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
The hell,
well.
Google? Come on.
Download it, guys, though. Oh,
Yeah.
You don't have.
Or
I guess
no,
not.
you don't have to download
buy an
it.
Android, and then you'll
Yeah,
be good.
if you have an Android, the Google app comes like pre-installed. So
you just say it.
Test it out.
That's it.
All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. We
All
can
right.
move on to Game of Thrones. Any of you guys watch Game of Thrones?
I saw season 1. And that was it.
no.
And I've seen some clips throughout the seasons.
There's clips everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
I read 2 of the books, and then they just got really confused. There's so many characters, so many. Each chapter is a new character, and then their stories told and stuff. And
Wait, seriously?
Yes,
It's so
it's-
much.
it really is confusing. You have to write it down, really.
Yeah, but like the books are huge. So how many characters are there?
There's literally so many. It's insane. I mean, obviously, because of the show, it's easy to visualize, easier. But I couldn't keep going. I kind of would want to do it again, but again, it's very time consuming. But one of the interesting things about Game of Thrones is that the 6th season aired, which was Winds of Winter, before the book was released. So they told George R.R. Martin that he needed the book to be done by October of 2016. And he said, back in May, he said, yeah, I can definitely do that. And October rolled around, and he said, okay, how about January 1st? And he still didn't have the book written. And he was, he felt that he let down his fans, and he felt really bad. But at the end of the day, it was not done. So the show kind of went without the book. So what do you guys think about these adaptations? Like, the show is taking over the story more so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Okay. This is weird that I haven't seen Game of Thrones, or I'm not a Harry Potter fan, because I'm like avidly a TV watcher and just movie watcher and everything. But I have not seen Game of Thrones at all. And like, like I said before, I'm not really into fantasy. But that's so weird to think about, that like it's based on books, and like they were going for how many seasons like with the book?
Well, the 6th season is the one they're on now. So they're literally just caught up, and they're just going to continue. I mean, obviously Martin is helping, and he's guiding them along, but they're just going, which it's never happened before, you know, where the book doesn't have the content before. So fans are, they don't really know what's going to happen. They have theories and stuff, but there's no books to back it up.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's crazy to think about.
And another thing is that new characters were created exclusively for the TV show. So in this show, there's someone named Alton Lannister, and fans have thought that he appears to be a character in the book, but he's just renamed, and he has kind of different features and stuff. And they actually, what they said was they renamed him not to confuse watchers of like the family ties he's in. And I feel like this is a little bit of an indication. Do viewers get more confused than the people who read the books? Because they're kind of implying that people are just going to watch the show. So I feel like they kind of leave a lot of stuff out, so it's not as confusing for viewers, because TV is such a different platform.
Yeah, I don't know. That's so weird. Just because, like, all right, like if anyone's gonna get confused, you would think that it's the books, right? 'Cause, like the readers, because like there's just so many people, and you can't, like, there's no face to match it with.
Exactly.
Like with a TV show, you can, even if like there's like a Laurel and a Laura, you can like be like, oh, Laurel has brown hair and Laura is blonde. You know, like you can differentiate that in that way. But like with books, you can't. It's all just based on your memory, or like you flipping through the chapters like that you've already read.
Mm-hmm. And I think I know you haven't seen it, but the TV show is very graphic. Some very intense things. Even people will get angry, like rape scenes and just deaths all the time. And obviously in the books, he doesn't go into detail with that. So I think that's very interesting.
He doesn't?
Not to the extent at all.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's not really what the books are about, because the show is known for how gruesome it is. The books are definitely not.
Yeah, like the show is, much of what I know about the show is like it's graphic sex scenes and rape scenes and like murders and just everything that you don't really want to watch.
Right.
But yeah, but like
there's a line.
you do.
Yeah, so again, that's interesting. How does the director take this into their own hands and do what they want with it, as opposed to, it goes back to even like Harry Potter, like just the differences is it can change from fantasy to not horror, but something along the lines of that, just by the content.
Yeah, you gotta see if it, I don't know, I feel like it might even change, like maybe some of the tones itself,
Yes.
If you got a whole new writer in a sense
Yeah.
doing the show instead of, I mean, still, even from book to screen adaptation, even with the book, some things still change, some tones still change, but like now it's even a step further. Oh, now you don't really have the books to back you up. Now it's like fan fiction, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, right, kind of.
It is kind of like fan fiction in a way.
Right. And what's interesting about that too is he says because he's continuing to write them, he's doing it very slowly, but he says the show characters kind of influences how he writes the characters. So he's written a character, they adapted it to adapted, I'm sorry, to the show, and then he watches that and says, oh, I kind of like that better, how she's portrayed, brings it back to the books. So yeah, I just think kind of as a wrap up, it's really interesting how they're intertwined now, because again, we've never seen something like this before, and the show is now, a lot of people watch the show and they say, I don't need to read the books because now the show is the main story. So do you think that's going to be a common thing? Do you guys like watching something before reading it, or you guys really like reading the books? How do you feel about that?
I don't know. Well, I can't speak to Game of Thrones, but I do try to read things before I watch them, especially if it's like if it's just one thing. If it's just one book and one movie, then it's easier. But like with Hunger Games, I read the first 2 books and I never got around to reading the third, but I watched the third and fourth movies, which were based on the third book.
Right.
Which, like, I mean,
kind of cheating, but also you just want to watch it.
Yeah, well, I read the books as they were coming out originally, and like the second one was my favorite, and then not my favorite, but like I liked the second one more than the first one. And like I tried to read the third one, but like it was when the third one was coming out, so like it was either sold out of the library, like, or someone had it at the library and I didn't want to pay for it, and like all my friends like were reading it, and so I couldn't borrow it from them and stuff, and like a bunch of things just happened all at once, and so I just kept delaying it, and I just never got around to reading it.
I think that happens where like I'll decide when I watch the movie after if I want to read the book, like if I like the story enough. Because a lot of times I'm just to myself, I'm like, oh, I don't have enough time to actually read the book. So I'm going to see the movie and then decide, which is interesting. A lot of people kind of do that now.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times too.
All right, so that's what I have on Game of Thrones. Valentina, would you like to go?
Yeah, so I have a few things. I'm going to start by talking about Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time is a TV show on ABC, and it brings... Sorry. So Once Upon a Time is a TV show on ABC that has a bunch of Disney fairy tales, like the Disney characters and stories and stuff that are based on fairy tales into one universe and one town, actually. And so a lot of those, like Once Upon a Time has a lot of things in their realm that they've adapted. So one of the major characters is Snow White. So they've got Snow White, that's from Snow White. Snow White was originally written as a Grimm fairy tale, and then they've also Once Upon a Time also has characters like Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio. Carlo Collodi wrote The Adventures of Pinocchio in 1883, and he was Italian. So that's based on a book. They also have things like Rumpelstiltskin. They've got Beauty and the Beast. They've got Red Riding Hood. They've got things like Wicked Witch of the West from like The Wizard of Oz.
So everything.
Yeah, they have a lot of different things. And I'm just reading from the main cast right now. Like, they have a lot of different side characters too. And like, or not side characters, but smaller characters that have like a single arc.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of just characters in general in the show. But so yeah, have you guys seen Once Upon a Time?
I have seen, not religiously or anything, just like, what is it, on Sunday nights or something?
I
Saturday
think so,
nights?
yeah.
Sunday nights, just like eating dinner with my family. Let's turn on the TV. Oh, that's on. Okay.
I think it's cool they bring together so many different characters. Like, that's such a cool thing to do. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's always a fan of something out there that they can attract to watch.
It mainly features characters that are in the Disney universe, but a majority of those characters are based on a lot of Western literature, folklore, and fairy tales in general. So I already mentioned a few of characters being written by the Brothers Grimm. And that's how you do a segue, Kirsten. No, the Brothers Grimm wrote so many fairy tales, and there's another TV show called Grimm that is going to be in its last season, actually, in its sixth and final season. And Grimm the show is only based on the fairy tales written by the Brothers Grimm. And it's not as like encompassing as Once Upon a Time because it is just the Brothers Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about Grimm? Have you seen Grimm?
Nope.
I haven't, but I think you're saying how they're adapted, and I think a lot of people, especially younger people, don't realize like these characters go back so far. And then they keep getting kind of readopted or reimagined through book and through movies. So now onto the TV. So I think, I don't know, it's just that it keeps going and adapting in different ways depending on who's making it. It's really cool.
Yeah, and Grimm the show is not as obvious as Once Upon a Time with their things, but like Once Upon a Time has obvious characters, like one of them is literally just Snow White, so she is Snow White, and a lot of her character things are based on the fairy tale of Snow White. But then Grimm, each character is not exactly like one single character from the Grimm's fairy tales. Like, it's not like there's no single Snow White. There's like they follow the storylines and stuff, but it's not like, and each character, not all of them, but some of them are creatures that are from the Grimm fairy tales, but they're not actually single characters.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that there's two shows about this though. Like, are they competing? I don't know. I think it's funny. There's just two shows on that instead of, like, why did they separate?
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Well,
I
two
think
different networks too.
fans of both. Yeah.
Yes. Grimm
Yeah, I
is
know.
on NBC.
Yeah, I know that at least.
And Once Upon a Time is on
ABC.
ABC. But Grimm, no, they both started in the same season. And they both started in 2011.
Okay.
Oh, wow. They actually started 1 week apart.
That's insane. It has to be It has to mean something.
Coincidence? I think not.
How do you feel about the fairy tale TV shows? Do you watch them or enjoy that?
I mean, I've seen some of Once Upon a Time. I watched it pretty religiously, like week to week, and then it got to a point, I think when I came to school, I just lost it because I wasn't recording it. I didn't have it on a DVR, so it was harder to watch. But other than that,
I mean, I've seen the spare episode here and there just because it was on TV while eating dinner or something. And even then, I was like, seems like a lot.
I think you have to really be into that genre.
Yeah, you have to
stay
be
with
really into that stuff. I don't know. I was just like, oh, there's Peter Pan, and then like they're doing some thing with like Snow White's over there, and then like the Wicked Witch is over here, and then the Evil Queen's like, whoa, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but okay.
Yeah, I think you do have to, like, it can get confusing pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Kirsten? Have you seen any of them?
No, that's personally not my thing, but I respect that there are shows out there for people to, again, see adaptations of the same character.
Yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones isn't my thing, so.
There you go.
Yeah. And then another show that I wanted to talk about that's has multiple characters in different universes, is Penny Dreadful. And Penny Dreadful is a show on Showtime. And do you guys know what Penny Dreadful is?
I had wanted to watch it when I first saw the trailers and stuff. I was like, that looks so cool. Come to realize I don't have Showtime.
It's a big downside.
Yeah. Never got to see it.
Yeah, so do you know what a Penny Dreadful is? Do you know where the title comes from?
Honestly, no.
Like a sad person? I don't know.
No, so I didn't know what it was either until I actually started looking at the show, like researching the show. Was Penny Dreadful, a Penny Dreadful is a, like in the mid to late 1800s, there was a genre of stories that would like be published as serials in the newspaper that would cost a penny to read, and they were really like gruesome and horror stories, and so they were called Penny Dreadfuls.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
I love that stuff like that. That's so cool.
I always thought it was a person.
Right?
A
Penny.
I did too.
It's a girl named Penny, has a dreadful life.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, just
Yeah.
down on her luck.
That's what I thought, but no, I didn't even know about this thing of Penny Dreadfuls. So it's really cool to know. So a lot of the characters in the show Penny Dreadful is about those characters are based on characters from Penny Dreadfuls that were published. So they have Dorian Gray from The Picture of Dorian Gray. They've got Van Helsing from Dracula. They've got Dracula. They have Victor Frankenstein and his monster from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is not a Penny Dreadful. Actually, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was published as a singular novel in like 18... I don't know, like 50 years before Penny Dreadfuls were a thing. But they were like, whatever. And so they also have Jekyll and Hyde from The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And those are some of the main characters. But they have like plenty of other people too. They have a lot of vampires. They have a lot of side characters that are not from books, but just interact with the characters based on books and stuff. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, it's cool. It's based off of books, you know? Like, even if people don't know that, it's still... I feel like most stories do come from a book at the very beginning. So that's really cool that it's, you know, more mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mainstream if you have Showtime.
True.
That's true. But the first couple seasons at least are on Netflix. So
Yeah.
if you've got Netflix.
All right.
So Kirsten, do you want to talk about Twilight?
Yeah, so you mentioned vampires. So we're going to talk about Twilight, which, don't cringe, you know, I know. So, okay, but what's interesting about Twilight is when the books first came out, it was not something people made fun of. It was decently popular, and before the movies came out, like, even I remember in my high school, was it high school? Yeah. People were talking about it, like, oh, have you read this yet? My friend introduced me to it. And I personally have read the series twice. Before the movies came out, I was actually really into it. I'm sure now I would not like it, but the fandom went from, just people liking the books, and then I feel like when the movies came out, there's this huge trend to hate the franchise and like make fun of it. 50 Shades of Grey, as you know, is based off fandom. What is it called? Fan fiction.
Fan fiction from Twilight.
I don't know why I forgot that. So it became this whole universe of you liked it and you hid the fact that you liked it, or you avidly hated it and it was a joke. So I think that's kind of a funny thing from the books to the movies, how the fans changed about it. But another thing is that also, people didn't like it, but it did start a trend of young adult books turning into movies. Quickly after Twilight was The Hunger Games, as we discussed. And a lot more young adult novels did turn into movies. So it started a cool trend of young adult books turning into movies, kind of making people read more and bringing these stories to life.
Mm-hmm.
So did you guys like Twilight? Like, how do you feel after the fact? It's been quite a while.
I remember I think I remember the books being a thing when I was in middle school, and from what I remember of my opinion of it, I never read the books at all. I think I thought the books, even though I never read them, were like okay. Like I was like, okay, the book, like
It's a thing.
big thick size book. I'm like, it's got to be decent.
Sure, they were really big for whatever reason.
Yeah, they're pretty thick, right?
Yeah.
Like 600 pages maybe minimum. Like
That's pretty big.
Right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that from the movies. Is pretty simple.
Like I don't know, like just thinking about like how big the book was, I'm like, you think the movie would be a little bit more with it.
Right.
I remember like I never watched Twilight. I mean, the first time I watched Twilight was like in my film class. Not like a film class, but like,
You watched a movie.
Senior class where you just watch movies and like have a quiz on it,
Really?
that kind of film class.
I'd love to take that class.
Yeah, I took that sophomore year, but whatever. And then we watched Twilight, and it was like, nope. Everyone just laughed the entire time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I agree, And then you watch like parodies online. You're like, yeah, there's a lot of material to
Make fun of.
But I think even though I never read the books, like just like from a outside cover, it looked fine. Like I feel like the books are always better than the movies, so I don't think I ever really bashed on the books because I assumed the books were like way better than the movies that were like.
And I personally think now the books probably again would be not too great, but I think the quality of content definitely changed from book to movie, which can happen. But one thing that was interesting is that they did not spend much money on the movies at all. Like they did not use very good CGI, stuff like that. The first movie took $37 million to make, and it made $191 million. And a lot of kind of articles and stuff said this was because Twilight is very based on characters, and the movies kind of had it easy because they had characters already established that they didn't have to really introduce as much. So they took it and kind of ran with the character stories and just the characters people already love from the book. So I think adaptations like that can kind of have an advantage sometimes because they already have like a fan base already created. And obviously Twilight was a huge fan base before, so anything they could release movie wise, people would already love what they could see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've like thought about why people hate the books and movies so much, and like one reason that I haven't come up with this. I've read this online. One potential theory is that because it is centered on a teenage girl.
I've read that too.
Yeah, so it's like trivializing like her thoughts and wants and feelings and everything. And like the director of the first one was Catherine Hardwicke, and she like actually has directed some pretty great things, and since then like she was one of the women in the running for to direct the Wonder Woman movie, but now she's not doing that.
Oh, what?
I mean, I think I also read it's also because the fan base is like teenage girls.
Yeah,
was like a huge fan base, and it's like teenage girls, and they're like all boy crazy and romance and whatever. Like, oh please, it's just bull. So
definitely. And the much of the book, I can't speak to this too much because I again never finished the book. I got like not even halfway through it, and I was like, I cannot finish this. But like it just wasn't my cup of tea, so to speak. But a lot of it was about Bella like wanting Edward, and like she was stuck in this love triangle and stuff, but it was a lot about her romantic feelings and things.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of people bash it from a feministic standpoint, because she was in this role of I'm choosing over a guy basically the whole time.
Yeah.
But a lot of people said too that she was kind of for feminism because she was just playing her like gender role, but like she embraced it, stuff like that. So it's like I think looking back, a lot of people were like, okay, she wasn't a great role model because she kind of would do anything for Edward.
Well, didn't she like try to kill herself?
I mean, she turned into a vampire for him, which is like eternal life. So that's a big step.
Yeah.
So it's
like I can't even keep a friend for like a year, let alone like
your whole rest of your being.
Yeah.
So and then when the baby scene was the worst thing I've ever. That was very graphic in the book where she was like giving birth because it was a vampire. Okay, I don't want to be but she had to drink blood or something so the vampire would live. It was the most graphic thing I've ever read, and I didn't see the scene in the movie, but I'm very interested how they adapted that for a teen movie. All in all, Twilight, pretty looked down upon now, but it did start kind of this thing of young adult novels turning into movies, which is cool. All right, and we can go on to Valentina. Oh no, they're doing comics. I'm sorry.
Comics.
All right, we're gonna switch gears here.
Switch gears a little bit.
Okay, if we're going comics, there's a lot of material to choose from. I'm gonna go brief with this. There's a lot. Okay, Netflix. They got all the Marvel shows on there, all really good. Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Iron Fist is gonna be coming out. I'm ashamed to say I haven't seen season 2 of Daredevil or Luke Cage. I've been busy with life.
Honestly,
so.
I'm in the exact same boat as you. Don't worry.
They've
been on my queue.
And Defender's is going to be coming out soon. Well, I don't know soon, but it's going to be coming out eventually. And it's bringing together all the other Netflix shows into one thing, which is really cool. Yeah, on the DC side, you got shows like Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, which are popular. I don't watch them, but I've seen like
crazy popular.
Yeah, like brother loves the Flash. So I don't know if he still does, but I've seen some clips here and there. It's a different vibe. It's a different feeling from the Netflix and even the Marvel show on ABC, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a whole different thing going on. Wonder Woman trailer dropped today.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not a huge fan of DC Comics.
Neither am I, but
just because I haven't read them or anything, but Wonder Woman, it's just, she speaks to my feminist heart. I love her. And the fact that they got a woman to direct Wonder Woman makes me very happy. But yeah, and there's also the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh yes, the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy. What else is there?
Spider-Man's gonna be coming out soon.
Spider-Man,
finally with Marvel instead of Sony, but
yeah.
that's like a whole other thing. There's X-Men, but that's with Fox.
Yeah, X-Men's with Fox. Fantastic Four is also with Fox.
Is it Warner Brothers? I think
Warner Brothers, something else. It's not with Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
Though, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's a whole thing.
See,
with
I
that.
personally don't kill me. I've just never been a comic person, but my brother, he had a comic book store for about a year, and what's interesting is the comics they do really well. Like they still sell very, like they're still a very big thing for people, and I think these shows really help it come back to life, and they can compare, they can, because they see new stories before they turn into movies sometimes. So I think that's really interesting and great, though, that they bring comics that are old back into kind of the realm of reading.
Yeah, I mean, I got into comics because of the movies.
Me too.
Like, I was so into the movies. I'm like, let me read some of the comics, and I bought a bunch of like different comics for like different characters, and I got into it. I haven't read any in a while, but that's just just life gets in the way, But and they were fun to read and stuff like that. And also, I saw an article. I was talking about how like fanboys and fangirls get upset when the TV shows change the canon of the comic books and like the stories in the comic books, and it's like there's a whole debate of like whether those shows and movies should stay completely true to the comic books or should they like stay mostly true, go their own thing.
I don't know.
You
Well,
know?
like my opinion on that is very different from that because like I also like you got into the comics because of the movies and things. But like there's so many like for
there's so many.
Like for Captain America.
Yeah,
there's
oh my god, don't even.
There's 70 plus years of material to work from. So like if they're cherry picking storylines, and that makes total sense, of course, because they can. Like it's not like something like Twilight where one movie corresponds to one book, you know? Like they have an amount of materials that is so vast that they have the ability to cherry pick things. And like with Captain America alone, like Captain America's my favorite. Just saying.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, but like Civil War is
different.
Very different from
very different.
The comics. And it's a modernized version of it, of the storyline, because the Civil War storyline was like 15 years ago? It was after 9/11.
They brought it back again too.
Yeah.
They brought it back.
But like it was after 9/11 originally. And so like a lot of the like the lead up to it, like the cause for the Civil War was because of 9/11, like
catastrophe kind of thing.
Yeah. And like in the movies, it's these battles at Sokovia and Sokovia, is that
the Sokovia Accords? I guess,
the Sokovia Accords. Like that's
and also Scarlet Witch messing up.
Yeah,
that thing.
Like that's the whole thing. That spoiler alert! If you haven't,
for a movie that came out
like last year, but like well, at least Civil War came out this year, but last year was
it's like
Avengers
in the first
Part
15
2.
minutes. Don't even,
yeah, whatever. It's all in the trailers, anyways. But like it's very different how the Civil War is caused from the movies to the comics, and also like which characters are on each side is different,
and just the amount, also the number of people.
Yeah,
they can't have all of them in the movies.
Yeah, like Kirsten, you were talking about before with Game of Thrones, like people getting confused with the amount of characters.
Right.
Like if the movies were to have all the characters that were in the comics, people would get very confused. And also, like, there's different things with movies. Like, you need actors for that. And, like, actor contracts didn't work out, like, for everyone to be in it and stuff. So it doesn't always work out how you want it to be.
Yeah.
I think they have to also remember the general audience that did not read the comics. They have to just keep it simple as possible.
I think that's the thing. It's like they want to, you want to cater to the fans of the comics, but you also got to, you got to get that general audience to get that money in, and to keep its popularity up. Kind of thing.
Of course. And like because not everyone knows about the comics, and if they're going to talk about one storyline, like if like going back to Civil War, if they were to have all the characters and stuff from the comics, they would have to have like so much exposition and backstory, because like you have to explain why all those characters have those alliances and stuff, and like why Steve Rogers is not the same Captain America as in the movies and the books. And so like there's just so much to explain, kind of going away from fantasy and just superheroes and comic books and stuff. One other thing that we're going to talk about is Reese Witherspoon, and that name might mean a lot to you and it might mean nothing to you, and you might be like, what are you talking about Elle Woods for? But
disappointing.
But Reese Witherspoon, as an actress, found that in the past, recently in her career, she has not been able to find substantial roles for her to play as like an quote unquote aging actress, which she's
so young, I feel.
She's like 40. I don't know. Instead of just moping around and being like, oh, where are all the good roles? She decided to start a production company. And her production company is now called Type A Productions, or Type A Films, sorry. And it was formerly Pacific Standard Films with, and she had a producing partner, Bruna Papandrea, I think is how you say it. They were friends, and they became producing partners. But now they have since split, and now it's just Type A Films. And so Reese Witherspoon with that company, has produced Wild, which she starred in and was nominated for multiple Oscars for, both as an actor and a producer. Gone Girl,
my fave,
which she was not in. She has produced. She's also produced Hot Pursuit, but she was not. That one was not necessarily within her production company. And she has also been producing Big Little Lies, Broken, and Truly Madly Guilty. So Broken is a TV show that is in pre-production right now. Like, they haven't started filming. But Big Little Lies and Truly Madly Guilty are both based on books written by Leanne Moriarty. And Reese Witherspoon is in both of those projects. And so what do you guys think about that? Like, here's Reese Witherspoon, an actress, just going to books and making her own movies rather than like actually waiting for movies to be submitted to her.
I love that it's called Type A. Like, that's genius. I really did like Gone Girl. I read the book first and then I saw the movie, and they lined up really well, actually. Like, it was very, very similar to each other. And Gone Girl was honestly a really, really great movie, and I didn't know she had any part to do with it. So that's really just great and kind of inspiring to just take stuff into your own hands and kind of work around if you need to get, to your goal, just work around until you find out how to do it. And she's obviously succeeding in it. So I love that.
Yeah, definitely. And Wild was the first book that she produced, but since then she's done quite a few, as I listed before.
Maybe a lot of people see this and do it themselves, which would be really interesting too. The actors kind of take the role of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of actors that have moved behind the camera instead of being in front of it. Like, take George Clooney, Ben Affleck, Brad Pitt. Why am I only naming
all the
guys?
Best. Okay, but they're great.
But yeah, and like, here's this woman who's decided she wasn't finding good characters for her to play, and characters and projects that she felt passionate about, and decided to look for her own stories.
Right. That's great. It could start a trend. Definitely.
So what about Series of Unfortunate Events?
All right, guys, to just wrap up this podcast today, Series of Unfortunate Events, I'm sure you've heard of it. It was 13 books, and it did have a movie with Jim Carrey, which I think he did great.
I love that movie.
Right. It's just so different. Even the stories of the books are so different. So there's 13 books. The movie did cover 3 of them. It was pretty successful. I don't know. I feel like when it came out, like, I knew it was coming out, but not everyone was excited about it. But it was successful, and they wanted to make a sequel, but they never did. So now they're having a series on Netflix, which is really popular to have your things on Netflix because people know, as we saw on the streaming podcast, if you haven't heard that, people know that Netflix does succeed. So they're putting it on there. It has Neil Patrick Harris and a bunch of other actors. And we have a little clip of it, so we can listen to that.
Rich! It's horrible.
Awful.
haven't the faintest idea.
Oh, so
That's intense.
yeah, definitely.
So I think I'm definitely going to check that out because I loved the books when I was little. It was one of my favorite series. And it's just interesting to put it into a, I guess, TV show format. I'm not really sure, but Netflix format. And with big star Neil Patrick Harris. So we'll see. I'm sure it'll do great. And I'm definitely going to check it out.
Definitely. So it's going to be 8 episodes
Okay.
on Netflix. So it's going to be a TV show.
That's
But-
such a strange medium, but I'm surprised it's not like 13, like the number of books, but
Oh, that would have been good.
right. But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the series of unfortunate events books as a kid. I didn't get around to reading all of them, but I read, I think, most of them.
I feel like they're very memorable. The childhood thing.
Yeah.
I read none, but I do remember what they looked like.
Yeah, true. They're very distinct.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cover art was great.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And they were written by a pseudonym.
Right. And just the whole I love the backs of the books if you read them. It was like, don't read this book. It's bad.
Yeah.
Scary things inside. It was just so intriguing to me.
So do you guys have any other things to bring up?
Final things.
Final thoughts? Or any other books that turned into movies or TV shows that you'd love to bring up? How many Shakespearean plays have been turned into movies? And
Too many?
a lot. Yeah. And one of my here's a little trivia. I don't know if you guys have watched Clueless. Do you guys like that movie, Clueless?
Never seen
I know
it.
I'm like against what I should, but no.
Oh, man. All right. Well, it's an amazing movie. It's one of my top 5 actually. But it was actually based on Emma by Jane Austen.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
That's
Yeah.
I love. Yeah,
heard
it's
that.
so. You never know.
It's
That stuff
so
they
like
fuss up.
different and stuff, but it's actually pretty like plot wise. It's pretty true to the books.
I think once you find out stuff like that, you pay attention and you're like, this makes sense.
Yeah, and Clueless came out in 1995 based on Emma, and then in 1996 there was a movie called Emma based on the book Emma, and that was when Gwyneth Paltrow won her first Oscar.
See, remakes sometimes, even if it was just made, it happens, and you get lucky.
Yeah. And there's plenty of other Jane Austen novels to be turned into books and remade and remade again.
Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. That's a good one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And one of my other favorite classics is Jane Eyre, and that's been turned into a couple movies and stuff. Yeah.
Like you said, though, there's a lot to work with books. You can kind of pull what you want and make up what you don't. It's a brand new story for you.
Definitely. And like the universe is already created, so you.
Yeah,
Just
that's
to-
great.
So guys, I think that's it for us. What's something in pop culture that you guys want others to pay attention to? Do you want to go first?
Getting near the end of my Criminal Minds binge, so if anyone wants to get in on that, great show. Been around for like 11 years.
Right. Little late.
Yeah, it's still on right now, but like on TV right now. But yeah, I really liked it. It's
Nice.
cool.
Well, this is not pop culture really, so sorry, but I'm going
That's fine.
to a concert next Tuesday, Animal Collective, if you've ever heard of this band.
no.
If not, I mean, it's not for everyone, but I'm excited, and concerts and music are fun, so go listen to them.
What kind of music are they?
I feel like you wouldn't like them. It's just like repetitive noise, basically. I don't know what I appeal to them, but it's interesting. It's different, that's for sure. It's just noises.
That's so weird.
I know. I really can't explain it to you. I'm sorry, but
All right. Well, one thing I've been watching. Last week we talked about Amazon Prime, and now, or not last week, but last episode, and now recently they've premiered their show Good Girls Revolt, and that was based on a book called Good Girls Revolt, which was like telling the history of this massive lawsuit against Newsweek from the women that worked there, that they weren't advancing in their positions, and so they sued the company for they sued the magazine for for discrimination. And so the show is a fictionalized version of that. And it's so good,
That
guys.
sounds like something I would love.
It's so good. There's 8 episodes. I've got 2 left.
You're getting
so
to the good. I love when you have 2 or 3 episodes left. You try to, cherish them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, great. I will definitely check that out.
Yeah, should. All right, guys. Well,
All right.
that's it for us.
See you next time.
You can follow us on Twitter at The Popped Show. Find us on Facebook. We are Popped Podcast. And you can find all of our show notes and things at our WordPress site, thepoppedshow.wordpress.com. Yeah. And be sure to subscribe to us on SoundCloud.
Please.
Yeah, please. That way you'll always have us in your little feed.
Your ears?
In your ears.
You'll always have our voices.
All right, bye.
Bye.